I never believed in fate until I walked into a coffee shop in Portland, Oregon, and saw Dylan sitting at the corner table with his laptop, the same way he used to sit in our favorite place back in Boston. My heart stopped. Actually stopped. Because Dylan had moved 3,000 miles away, specifically to get away from me. And here I was, standing 10 feet from him in a city I'd randomly chosen for a job I'd randomly applied to, in a coffee shop I'd randomly walked into on my first day in town. Let me back up. My name is Adrian, and 6 months ago, I broke Dylan's heart. Not because I wanted to, not because I didn't love him, but because I was terrified of what loving him meant. We'd been best friends since college, roommates for 3 years after graduation, and somewhere along the way, everything changed. Or maybe it had always been different, and I was just too scared to see it. It started small. I'd noticed the way his hair fell across his forehead when he was concentrating on his graphic design work. How his laugh sounded different when it was just the two of us, more genuine, more free. The way my chest felt tight when he'd bring someone home from a date, and I'd have to put on headphones and pretend I didn't care. I told myself it was normal. That's what best friends felt, right? This intense need to be near someone, this ache when they weren't around. But then came the night that changed everything. We'd been watching a movie, some action thing neither of us was really paying attention to, and Dylan fell asleep with his head on my shoulder. I remember sitting there, barely breathing, feeling the weight of him against me, and thinking this is what I want for the rest of my life. This exact moment. Him. Just him. And that thought terrified me so much I couldn't move. I sat there for 2 hours, letting my arm go numb, memorizing the way his breath felt against my neck, knowing that once I acknowledged what I was feeling, I could never take it back. He woke up around midnight, all groggy and apologetic, and when he looked at me, his face so close to mine, something shifted in his expression, like he could see right through me, like he knew. And maybe he did because he didn't pull away. Neither of us moved. We just stared at each other, and I could feel my heart hammering so hard I was sure he could hear it. Then his eyes dropped to my lips just for a second, and I panicked. I made some joke about him drooling on my favorite shirt and got up so fast I nearly knocked over the coffee table. Things were weird after that. Not bad weird, but charged, like the air before a thunderstorm. Every conversation felt loaded with things we weren't saying. Every accidental touch lasted a second too long. I'd catch him looking at me sometimes, and the expression on his face was so open, so vulnerable, it made me want to run and stay at the same time. Then came the night he told me. We were in the kitchen, making dinner together like we did most nights, and he was telling me about his day, something about a difficult client, and I was only half listening because I was too busy watching his hands as he chopped vegetables. He had beautiful hands. I'd never let myself think that before, but I couldn't stop thinking it then. And suddenly, he went quiet. And when I looked up, he was staring at me with this intense expression I'd never seen before. "Adrian," he said, and my name sounded different in his mouth. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to let me say it all before you respond, okay?" My stomach dropped. I nodded, gripping the counter behind me. "I'm in love with you," he said, and his voice was shaking. "I've been in love with you for years, and I can't keep pretending I'm not. I see the way you look at me sometimes, and I think maybe you feel it too. But I need to know. Because living with you and loving you and not being able to tell you is killing me." I couldn't breathe. Everything I'd been feeling, everything I'd been so carefully not acknowledging, was suddenly right there in the open, and I had a choice. I could be brave. I could tell him, yes, I feel it too. I've been falling in love with you so slowly, I didn't even notice until I was completely gone. But instead, I said the worst thing I could have said. I said, "I'm sorry." The way his face changed will haunt me forever. It was like watching someone's light go out. He nodded, just once, and said, "Okay, that's okay. I understand." But his voice was completely hollow. He left the kitchen, went to his room, and I stood there like a coward, listening to him move around, and I knew I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life. But I was too scared to fix it. Too scared of losing him completely if I tried and failed. Too scared of what it meant about me, about my life, about everything I'd thought I knew about myself. He moved out 2 weeks later. Said he'd gotten a job offer in Portland, that it was too good to pass up. We both knew he was lying. He was running from me, from us, from what I'd rejected. Our last conversation was strained and polite, full of promises to stay in touch that we both knew were empty. He hugged me goodbye, and I held on too long, and I almost told him then, almost said, "Wait, I was wrong. I'm in love with you too. Please don't go." But I didn't. I let him walk out the door, and I told myself it was for the best. The next 4 months were the worst of my life. The apartment felt empty without him. Everything reminded me of him, his favorite mug that he'd left behind, the dent in the couch where he always sat, the way the light came through the kitchen window in the morning, the same light that used to catch in his hair. I went through the motions of living, but I felt like a ghost. My friends asked what was wrong. I told them I was fine, just adjusting to living alone. But I wasn't fine. I was drowning in regret. I started seeing a therapist, told her everything, about Dylan, about my feelings, about how scared I was. She asked me what I was scared of, exactly, and I didn't have a good answer. Being judged, losing my family, changing my entire understanding of myself. All of it felt both huge and incredibly stupid when I said it out loud. She asked me if any of that was worth losing Dylan. I said no. She asked me why I wasn't telling him that. I said because he's gone, because I ruined it, because it's too late. She looked at me for a long moment and said, "Adrian, it's only too late when one of you is dead. Everything else is just fear." That stuck with me. I started thinking about what I actually wanted my life to look like. And in every version, every possible future I imagined, Dylan was there. Not as my roommate, not as my friend, as my partner, the person I came home to, the person I built a life with. And once I let myself want that, really want it, I couldn't stop. I tried to reach out to him, sent a few texts that he answered politely but distantly. I thought about flying to Portland, showing up at his door, but that felt selfish. He'd moved across the country to get away from me. What right did I have to follow him? Then I got a job offer. A company in Portland wanted me for a project manager position. I'd applied months ago before Dylan left, back when Portland was just another city. I'd forgotten about the application entirely. The offer was good, really good, and my therapist said maybe the universe is giving you a chance. I didn't believe in the universe or chances or fate, but I accepted the job anyway. I told myself it was for my career, that it had nothing to do with Dylan, that Portland was a big city, and I probably wouldn't even run into him. I was lying to myself again. So there I was, first day in Portland, jet-lagged and disoriented, walking into a random coffee shop because I needed caffeine before apartment hunting. And there he was. Dylan. My Dylan, except he wasn't mine, and he never had been, and that was my fault. He hadn't seen me yet. I could leave. Should leave. This was exactly the kind of thing he'd moved away to avoid, but my feet wouldn't move. I just stood there, staring at him, memorizing details I'd been trying to forget, the way he bit his lip when he was thinking, the small scar on his eyebrow from a childhood accident, the exact shade of his eyes, somewhere between green and gold. Then he looked up, saw me, and the expression on his face went through about 5 emotions in 2 seconds, shock, confusion, something that might have been hope, then carefully controlled neutrality. "Adrian," he said, and it sounded like a question. "What are you doing here?" "I moved here," I said, and my voice came out strangled. "For a job. I start Monday. I just got into town today. I didn't know you'd be here. I mean, I knew you were in Portland, but I didn't know you'd be here, in this specific place right now." The words were tumbling out too fast. He was staring at me like I was a ghost. "You moved to Portland," he said slowly. "Yes. For a job, I already said that." "Right." He ran a hand through his hair, and I remembered the feel of it, the one time I'd drunkenly played with it during a movie night, soft and thick between my fingers. This is really weird, Adrian." "I know," I said. "I'm sorry. I can go. I should go." I started backing toward the door, but he said, "Wait. Just wait. Sit down, please." "Sit." So I sat across from him, and we stared at each other, and the silence was so heavy I could barely breathe. You look good, he finally said. You too, I replied. Even though good was an understatement, he looked beautiful. He'd always been beautiful, but something about him was different, more confident maybe, or maybe just more himself without me there to make him hide it. So he said, a job? Yeah. Project manager for a tech startup. It's a good opportunity. I'm sure it is. He was doing that thing where he kept his voice carefully neutral, and I hated it. I hated that we'd gone from finishing each other's sentences to this stilted politeness. How long have you known? About the job? About moving here? A few weeks? I wanted to tell you, but I didn't know how. Didn't want you to think I was following you or something. Are you? Following me? No, I looked down at my hands. I don't know. Maybe. Not consciously, but maybe some part of me hoped I'd run into you. Is that creepy? I'll leave you alone, I promise. What? He asked, and there was an edge to his voice now. You just what, Adrian? I just miss you, I said, and it came out barely above a whisper. I miss you every single day, and I know I have no right to say that, no right to miss you when I'm the one who pushed you away, but it's true. I miss you so much it physically hurts. He closed his eyes, and I saw his jaw clench. You don't get to do this, he said. You don't get to show up here and say things like that. I told you how I felt. I put everything on the line, and you said you were sorry. Do you know what that did to me? I know, I said, and I could feel tears burning behind my eyes. I'm so sorry, Dylan. I was scared. That's not an excuse. I know it's not, but I was terrified of what it meant, of changing everything, of losing you if it didn't work out. So instead, you lost me anyway. His voice was bitter, and it hurt, but I deserved it. Yeah, I did, and it was the worst mistake of my life. He opened his eyes, and they were shining. Then why didn't you say something? Before I left? I wanted to. I almost did so many times. But you were already leaving, and I thought I'd missed my chance. I thought you'd never forgive me. I'm not sure I do forgive you, he said quietly. But I never stopped loving you either, and I hate that. I hate that I moved 3,000 miles, and you're still the first thing I think about every morning. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought it might break through my ribs. Dylan, I said, I'm in love with you. I've been in love with you for years, and I was too much of a coward to admit it. But I'm admitting it now. I love you. I love the way you hum when you're working. I love how you always burn toast but refuse to adjust the toaster settings. I love your terrible puns and your kind heart and the way you see the best in people even when they don't deserve it. I love you, and I know I hurt you, and I know I might be too late, but I had to tell you. You deserve to know. He was crying now, tears sliding down his cheeks, and I wanted to reach across the table and wipe them away, but I didn't know if I was allowed. You're such an idiot, he said, but his voice was soft. I'm aware. You really didn't know? That you loved me? I knew. Deep down, I knew. I was just too scared to let myself feel it. And now? Now I'm more scared of living without you than I am of loving you. He laughed, but it was watery. That's the cheesiest thing you've ever said. I know. It's true, though. We sat there for a long moment, just looking at each other. Then he said, I don't know if I can do this, Adrian. Jump right back into being us or whatever we could be. You hurt me. I know. I'm not asking you to jump into anything. I'm just asking for a chance, to prove that I'm not scared anymore, to show you that I'm serious about this, about us, however long that takes. He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. I live 2 blocks from here, he said. What? I live 2 blocks from this coffee shop. I come here every morning, every single morning, and you just happened to walk in on your first day in Portland. Yeah. He shook his head, a small smile finally breaking through. Maybe the universe is trying to tell us something. Maybe, I said, smiling back. We talked for 3 hours, ordered more coffee, then lunch, and just talked, really talked in a way we never had before. I told him about therapy, about working through my fear, about realizing that loving him wasn't something to be scared of, but something to celebrate. He told me about Portland, about the friends he'd made, about how he'd tried to move on but couldn't, how every guy he met got compared to me and came up short, We talked about what it would mean, actually being together, the risk of it, the vulnerability, but also the possibility, the hope. When we finally left the coffee shop, the sun was setting. We stood outside, and the awkwardness was back. "So," he said. "So," I echoed. "Can I see you again? Tomorrow, maybe?" He considered this. "Tomorrow's too soon. I need time to think." "Okay. When? I'll text you." "Okay." I started to walk away, then turned back. "Dylan." "Yeah?" "Thank you for not telling me to leave, for listening." He nodded. "Don't make me regret it, Adrian." "I won't," I promised. He texted me 3 days later, asked if I wanted to get dinner. I said yes so fast I nearly dropped my phone. We met at a Thai place he loved, and it was less awkward than the coffee shop, but still strange, navigating this new thing between us. We weren't friends anymore, not really, but we weren't together either. We were something in between, something undefined and fragile. We started seeing each other regularly. Dinners, walks, a movie. He set the pace, and I followed. Some days were good, easy like old times. Other days were hard, tension crackling between us, years of history and hurt rising to the surface. We had our first real fight 3 weeks in. He accused me of not taking his feelings seriously back in Boston. I got defensive. We both said things we regretted. But then we talked through it, really talked, and something shifted. We were learning how to be honest with each other, how to be vulnerable without running away. 2 months after that first coffee shop meeting, we were at his apartment watching a movie, sitting carefully on opposite ends of the couch. The movie ended, and neither of us moved. "Dylan," I said. "Yeah? Can I kiss you?" He looked at me for a long moment. "I thought you'd never ask," he said. So I did. I leaned across the couch and kissed him, soft and careful, and it felt like coming home. He kissed me back, his hand coming up to cup my face, and everything I'd been holding back for years just flooded through me. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. "Wow," he whispered. "Yeah," I agreed. That was worth waiting for. It really was. We took it slow after that, held hands in public, kissed goodnight at his door, let ourselves be tender with each other. He introduced me to his Portland friends as his boyfriend, and hearing that word applied to me, to us, made my chest tight with happiness. I met his co-workers at a gallery opening for his design work, and I stood there so proud, watching him talk about his art, knowing I got to be the person he came home to. 6 months after I moved to Portland, we got an apartment together. A real one, that we chose together. That was ours. Not roommates pretending, not friends hiding, partners. We painted the living room together, argued about furniture placement, built bookshelves that were slightly crooked. It was domestic and ordinary and absolutely perfect. Some nights I'd wake up and find him already awake, watching me. "What?" I'd ask. "Just making sure you're real," he'd say. "That this is real. It's real, I'd promise. I'm not going anywhere." "Good," he'd say, "because I love you. I love you too." My family took it better than I expected. His family had always known, had just been waiting for me to figure it out. Our Boston friends weren't surprised. Apparently we'd been obvious for years, and everyone had just been waiting for us to catch up. It's funny how the things we think are earth-shattering revelations are just quiet truths to everyone else. I still can't believe the coincidence of it all. That he moved to Portland, that I got a job offer in the same city, that I walked into his coffee shop on my first day. Dylan says it wasn't coincidence, says the universe was giving us a second chance. I don't know if I believe that, but I believe in us. I believe in the choice we make every day to be together, to be honest, to be brave enough to love each other out loud. Sometimes I think about that night in Boston when he told me he loved me and I said I was sorry. I think about how different things could have been if I'd been braver then, but maybe we needed the distance. Maybe I needed to lose him to understand what having him meant. Maybe he needed to see me fight for us to trust that I was serious. Or maybe we just got really lucky and the universe, or fate, or random chance gave us another shot. Either way, I'm grateful. Grateful for Portland, grateful for that coffee shop, grateful for Dylan's willingness to forgive me, to try again, to build something new with me. Grateful that sometimes the person you're meant to love is patient enough to wait while you figure out how to love them back. We're happy now. Really, genuinely happy. And every morning when I wake up next to him, I make the same promise: to never take this for granted, to never let fear make my decisions, to love him loudly and proudly for as long as he'll have me. So far, he says, that's forever. I'm holding him to that.